Alright, and welcome back. Getting closer to the completion of the tail cone. This is going to be a video about hanging the elevators onto the horizontal stabilizer. It's a whole lot of adjustments done over and over and over. But it does go along, at least in my case, it went along fairly easily. So putting the left elevator back onto the horizontal stabilizer and lining everything up to drill the hole into the new elevator horn that I just installed in a previous video. And this is, if you remember, the step that I had messed up initially. So again, using the guide that goes into the bearing, and you put your drill bit into there to make sure that you're drilling a perpendicular hole. you drill it to a size 30. And then here is the step that I had messed up before, and I am now extra careful to make sure that I'm actually drilling to the correct size this time. But using the step drill bit, you step the hole up to a 1/4 inch hole. So once I got that in, cleaned everything up, deburred the hole as best I could, and now I get ready to put everything back onto the horizontal stabilizer and actually hang the elevators this time. The process basically is just put both elevators on, bolt them in place, and then you secure both the left and the right elevators into the trailing edge position, in other words straight, and using duct tape. But first, here you see me, I'm putting in some additional rivets into the leading edge of the left elevator. I discussed in the previous video that the right elevator leading edge came out pretty well because it was a second attempt. The left elevator was the one that I'd done first, and I was never really happy with how it turned out. There were several areas in between the blind rivets that pillowed because I just didn't break it well enough. And so now I've decided to go ahead and drill a few more holes in between rivets where the skin really had pillowed out, and put in a few more rivets along the leading edge. And this will help minimize the chance of rubbing. Because as you're installing the elevators, you have to adjust them quite a bit to get rid of rubs here and there. And a lot of it is because of the leading edge of the elevator just wasn't shaped correctly when I rounded the leading edges. So that's something that I worked through, finally got everything going well, and got rid of all the rubs. Both elevators deflect the proper angles. I want to say it was like 23 degrees one way and almost 30 degrees the other. I don't recall off the top of my head, but it gave more deflection one way than the other, if I recall correctly. And so now I've got them both hung, and now the process of getting the elevator horn put together correctly as far as the two pieces. So you, like I'm doing here, I'm using the tape to hold them in the trailing edge position. And one of the things you notice is that the elevator trim tab has still got the trim tab deflected quite a bit. And so I take some time to figure out how to manipulate that and get it straightened out. But first, here I am working on the bolt that goes through the center bearing. And one of the things that you do with this is the instructions basically tell you to use as many washers as you need to get it to bolt in flush. And so you might have to use one bolt on the left side and up to 3 bolts on the right side, and washers. Use a washer on the left side, 3 washers on the right side, and however many you need in between. It just tells you to use as many as you need based on how the actual spacing looks. And it was not easy. I essentially took some tape and kind of made a little lure to hold the washers that go between the elevator horn and the bearing, because you obviously can't get anything in there to try to line everything up. But basically just put some tape on the one end of the washer and dangled it down in between the space, and then pushed the bolt through. It's about the only way I can get through to it, but I did get it to work. And the one thing it'll tell you is to make sure you remember how many washers you had where, and space everything correctly. So as you can see here, everything is bolted together and the elevator acts as one. So now I am working on getting the elevator trim tab lined up and having a little fun doing it. So basically what I did is I took a 9-volt battery and applied voltage to the correct leads, and the Molex pin connector for the elevator trim tab has, I believe, 5 pins out of the 6-pin connector, and the 2 white leads are the ones that you want to apply voltage to, and depending on which polarity you apply to which lead will deflect the elevator trim tab one way or the other, as you'll see here in just a minute. And there you go, you can see that the elevator trim tab is moving up. And basically, like I said, you apply voltage in a particular polarity one way and it deflects the trim tab motor. Change the polarity and it moves the trim motor the other direction. The other 3 leads go up to your trim tab indicator, and it lights up the LED accordingly to show if the elevator trim tab's up or down. So this was a pretty neat step. And now just lining it back up so that it's straight, so that I can look and look down the elevator edge to see that the 2 elevators are straight and don't have a whole lot of twist in them. So now I'm just taking everything apart, getting ready to transfer everything over to the tail cone. A few steps I have left, taking pictures to show which washers I had where. You drill the hole for the elevator horn on the bottom of the horn, so that you can basically attach the horns together and make the elevator one piece. And the instructions tell you specifically how to do that. And then after that, it's just a matter of getting everything hung onto the tail cone. And that should all be in the next video. So I'm going to go ahead and let this run out here. Again, I appreciate those who continue to watch these videos. If you get a chance, hit that like button for me, and we'll see you next time around.